So this is the back pattern of the female shirt, short sleeve female shirt, and it's going to have a center dart and a bust dart at the front. So the measurement for this is the back pattern. So the back width is 2.25. Yes, the back width is 2.25 from here to here. Then the back depth is 1.5. Remember that all these patterns, they are already inside the workbook, and how to drop the pattern too is there, so it shouldn't be difficult for you. So I'm going to connect it. You can use your curves to do that. Now next, so we are done with the neckline. So next is the shoulder. So shoulder is 14 inches. So from here divided by 2, that will be 7. So my 7 is here with ½ inch sewing allowance. That is that. So I'm going to slant to measure 0.75 inch down. You can also use 1 inch depending on the wideness of the shoulder, but for here, since the shoulder is 14, I'm using 0.75. So I measure 0.75 from the up down. So this is it. Then I'll connect a line from that 0.75 to the base of the neck. This is very simple. The diagram is also in the workbook. So that is that. So from here to here again, I measure 0.5 inch down. From that 0.75, I measure another 0.5 inch down, which is the sewing allowance, and I'm going to use a broken line to represent it. Here is it. So that's your sewing allowance. Now we've done the neckline, we've done the shoulder. Next is the armhole. So from this place again, from the ½ inch, everything goes after that. I'm going to measure the armhole divided by 2. Armhole is 14 divided by 2, that is 7. So I'm measuring 7 inches down from here to here. So that is my 7 inches, and I'm going to rule a line across. It's just a line. I'm ruling it across the 7 inches. Now this is my 7 inches. I represented it with a line too. Now the next thing is to make the curve around the armhole. So I'll measure my bust on the line. Bust is 38 divided by 4, that is 9.5. So this is 9.5 measured here from here to here, plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Normally I use 0.5 inch, ½ inch sewing allowance, but for starters I always prefer that they use 1 inch, so in case they make an error it can be adjusted. All right, so now that's that. Then from here I'm going to find the midway between here and here. You already know the reason why. So the armhole can have a curve inward. Then I'll measure 0.5 inch inward. Then now I can connect. Very good. You can see my curve there. You can use your curve. Feel free to do that. So we've done the neckline, we've done the shoulder, we've done the armhole, we've done the bust. Next, I'm going to measure the length of the shirt. The length of the shirt is 7 inches. So I'm going to find a midway between the base of the neck and the end of the shoulder. Just position your tape somewhere midway and then take it down. So my length is 27 inches here. Then I'll measure 1 inch for the hem line down. So that 1 inch is to fold the hem line down. Then my half length is 15.5. So that is where I'm going to measure my waist. So I'm going to rule that again. Rule a line across my waistline. And I'm also going to rule a line across my hip. My hem line, that is where I will measure my hip size. Then the extra 1 inch that I'm using for the hem to fold up the hem, I'm ruling it as well. So I'm going back now to my waist. So waist measurement is 34 divided by 4, that will be 8.5. My waist, you can see that I've measured my waist. Waist is 8.5. 34 divided by 4 inches, which is 8.5. So I have my waist here. Then I also have 1 inch dart added and 1 inch sewing allowance added. Then I'm coming to my hip line. My hip is 40 divided by 10 by 4, that is 10 inches. I'll add 1.5 inch sewing allowance to it. Now I need to make a curve at the hip line, so I'm going to measure 1.5 inch on this here, 1.5 upward. Then on the base I will measure 2 inches. This is 2 inches, so I can make a curve. Make sure your curve is not too deep. You can see, so I can make it, so make sure it is not too deep, because if it is too deep you have issues when you are trying to fold up the hair. Then I'm going to connect ear with ear with hair. So I have this, I have this. Now you can see that I've connected the curve that at the base, then the bust side, the waist side, and the curve at the hip line, at the hip side. I've already connected the three together. So this is our back pattern, and that is all. Now we cut this off with scissors. I'll cut it, then I will now use it to draw the front pattern. Okay, so this is the back pattern that we cut for the female sheet. Now this is the front pattern. Now the first thing you will do is to measure 1.5 inch. Then that is going to be for the button stand. So that is what I folded. You can see I folded it down. So this is 1.5 inch. So I folded it down. So that is that. So you will now position your back pattern on the folded button stand. Now how do you know where to position it? Just measure 1 inch from the edge inward. Then you position the back pattern on that 1 inch. Make sure the edge up is straight. Then so you position your back pattern. If you need to pin your pattern, you can do that. So pin the back pattern on the front pattern. Remember, I folded the button stand with 1.5 inch. I folded it inward, and I positioned the back pattern on the front pattern on the 1 inch. So I still have 0.5 inch left. Please note that. Okay, now to the neck. You remember that my front depth is 3 inches. Depth is down, width is like this. This is horizontal, depth is vertical, width is horizontal. So for my front width is the same thing as my back width. My back width is 2.25. So it's the same thing as my front width as well. So from the same, so it's going to be the same thing. 2.25 is the same thing. Can you see that? It's the same thing. It's actually, the width is actually the same thing, 2.25. But the depth, my front depth is 3 inches, so it's going to be different. So this is 3 inches down. From here to here is 2.25, the width. So I'm going to measure 3 inches downward again. Here to here is 3 inches. Then I'll connect with a ruler. Connect with a ruler. Then I can make my curve. Feel free to use your curves to do the curve. Okay, so I've done the neckline for the front pattern now. So I'm still going to position the back pattern back on it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is my bust dart. You know, this one is having a center dart and a bust dart. Now this is how I measure where my bust dart is going to be. Come to the edge of the armhole here, then measure 3.5 inch down. It's standard. 3.5 inch, it's standard. So this is 3.5 inch. Yes, from here the edge of the armhole down is 3.5 inch. You can also use 4 inches if it's a wider or is a bigger sized shirt. I'm going to remove this pin because I'm opening it. Cancel. This is my 3.5 inches from here, measure downward. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold the bust dart. You can see it, I folded it. So you can pin your folding, just fold it and you pin it. When you want to cut it, cut your fabric with this pattern, you will open the folding. The only thing I have to do now is just to cut it. So the only thing I have to do now is to cut. I'm going to cut this starting from my neckline. Note how I cut the neck. I'm going to start from the button stand. And cut the shoulder. And I'll cut the hammer. Very good. So we have both the front. Okay, so this is your back pattern and your front pattern. Now I'm going to cut off the neckline now. Remember, we have marked the neckline, so just cut off. Very good. So make sure you notch the edges. Okay, so we have both the necklines cut, and now we can go and cut our fabric, then we will sew.